Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to turn NotebookLM into a wiki-style branded website. Assuming that you do know how to upload sources to NotebookLM, you're going to want to have at least one notebook that dictates how your brand works or how you do business. This could be all of your training manuals. It could be all of your about me statements, all of your capabilities. You want to have all that information inside of one notebook. As an example, you're looking at a 52-week series of webinar transcripts that represent the whole of a marketing strategy. You can compose your notebook however you see fit. You're going to be using Gemini Canvas, and there are a number of ways for you to get the information from the notebook into the Gemini Canvas. If you have a paid account, you can incorporate the notebook directly into your interface. However, one of the things you want to know about this workflow is that if you have shared the notebook or if the notebook has been shared with you, you will not be able to use this part of the interface as of the recording of this video. You can go to the Add Files area. You can go to NotebookLM. You can then choose the notebook that you want to add, and you can add it to the conversation. This method does incorporate influence outside of your notebook, and if you're trying to stay true to the elements in your notebook, you don't want to attach your notebook in order to create the wiki. You want to be able to get a synthesis out of your notebook based on all of your information. You can get that synthesis however you like. If you want to get the synthesis based on an audio, a slide deck, a video overview, or report, you can do it. The most efficient way is to use the chat and allow the chat to produce a document for you. NotebookLM does best in synthesis and staying true to your documents. And so you want to allow NotebookLM to do that. And so we're going to get the synthesis from NotebookLM. We're going to rely, though, on Gemini to write the prompt because Gemini will use the latest version of the model. NotebookLM will not use the latest version of the Gemini model. So we're going to copy this prompt and head to Gemini. We're going to go ahead and attach the notebook for reference. And what we want Gemini to do is to give us the prompt to put into NotebookLM to get a synthesis from NotebookLM. We're going to take this prompt from Gemini, we're going to copy it, and we're going to head back to NotebookLM. And for good measure, what we're going to do is we're going to save this to a Google Doc. And we're going to export this to Google Docs so that we will have it and we will be able to archive these prompts and these methods in case we want to create a gem for the repeat process. We're going to now place the prompt here inside of NotebookLM. We're going to use the chat and we're going to get the synthesis from the chat. Once we have the synthesis, what we can do is we can scroll down to the bottom and save this to a note. We'll then have our note. We can then save our note to a Google Doc, export it to Docs. We now have our synthesis. We can stay within this conversation or we can start a new conversation. We want Gemini to now write a prompt for us to use in the Gemini Canvas to take the synthesis and turn it into a wiki-style website. So I'm going to ask Gemini to give me the prompt for Canvas. I'm going to use plain language in order to ask Gemini to give me the prompt. And once I do that, I'm going to copy my request for the prompt. I'm going to head back to Gemini. And I'm going to place in the prompt. For reference, I'm going to attach the synthesis. And the synthesis is now in our drive, so I can attach it. I'm going to insert it. And then I'm just going to tell Gemini that the synthesis is attached for reference. So I'm going to now ask for Gemini to give me the prompt in order for me to create the synthesis inside of Canvas to create the wiki-style website. Now, this is part of the process that you definitely want to try to understand as much as you can to make sure that Gemini has your intentions correctly. Now, you may not be a coder, but you should be able to read through the role and the task and the styling requirements to determine that Gemini has your process in the way that you want it. And just in case something happens, we're going to export this prompt to Google Docs. We're going to stay within the same conversation. And we're going to copy this entire prompt. And we're going to go to Gemini. We're going to turn on the canvas. We're going to attach our synthesis document. We're going to insert it. We're then going to paste in the prompt given to us by Gemini. And if at all possible, depending on what level of account that you're going to be using and how many pro queries you have left, you definitely want to use your pro queries for this process. We're going to click enter to get the process started. Now, the process may take time to get started. What should happen is that Gemini should do the analysis and then open up the canvas. And Gemini has now opened up the canvas. And what you're going to see is that Gemini is now going to write the HTML for your wiki-style website. In some cases, the canvas will not give you a preview. Your fallback in this case is going to be to save all of the code and place it inside of your favorite HTML editor. You can use any of the free ones that are available. You can use Dreamweaver, and you just want to save all your code inside of HTML editor and then view the site offline, knowing that if it works there, it should work on Google Sites or on your website. Depending on where you save the HTML file, you should be able to click on it, and you will then be able to preview your wiki as it will be. And so you'll be able to click to the elements that you'll be able to see. So if your wiki is the way that you want it to be, what we can now do is we can now move this to a website. We will then copy the HTML again from the canvas just to make sure. We will go to freesitecreatorsites.google.com. We will click on a blank site. And this is not a full-blown tutorial on how to use Google Sites. So we're just going to write in a title. And we're very simply going to pull up the code. We're going to click on Embed Code. We're then going to paste in all of the code that we picked up from Canvas. We can then click Next. We can then insert the code. And then we can then stretch it out so that it will appear correctly on the page. And you can also stretch it down. That's what we will do. We're going to go to this element. We're going to preview our site, and we'll be able to see how it's going to look on the web. As you can see, we can then see how it's going to look on the tablet, how it will then look on mobile. And we can then go back to edit mode. We can then publish. We can then give our site a specific name. We're just going to give it a simplified name. You can choose as to whether you want the site to be indexed or not. We're going to choose for not. We're going to click publish. And our site is now complete. We can now view the site as it is live on the web. Now, initially, when we tested the site's links did not work correctly. So we did have to come back to Gemini Canvas. We had to tell Gemini Canvas exactly what was happening when we clicked the links. Gemini then provided a fix. And instead of having us to paste in the fix, it just produced an entirely set of new code. We just copied the new code and we placed that code then inside of Google Sites. And that code then now works correctly. And when the links are clicked, they do go to the right place on the page. So if you or a customer can get your branded information into a NotebookLM notebook, you can build a branded wiki for yourself or for a customer. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.